Demand gen strategies for B2B. Why is the hype so big? And is it actually something worth trying for those who haven't been digging into this topic? We will talk about demand gen strategies today. Hi Julius, how's it going?
Hi Ben, trying to get used to the winter now, but I guess that's life now. We'll have to get it.
7:30 in the winter in Munich is really a place where you
Yeah.
prefer to stay at bed.
Yeah, just want to stay in bed and cuddle, but you just have to go outside and it's kind of warming you up when you cycle and have the cold air in your face. It's better than a coffee actually.
I agree. But yeah, let's tackle today's episode. I think this topic is really a lot of companies are currently curious about it. I mean, these strategies are not something new. We saw them on the market for really a longer time, but I think they kind of have a good momentum.
Yeah, you're really excited about it. Maybe let's start at the beginning for listeners that have not really heard much about it before. What's your definition of demand gen? Do you have a simple one?
I really have a simple one, and today is a special episode because I brought some slides from our internal trainings for this one.
Nice.
I will always kind of switch to these slides because I think they are really valuable. So let's start with the first one. Let me answer the first question. So a demand gen strategy is a structured marketing approach designed to create awareness, interest, and trust in your products or services, ultimately driving qualified leads and revenue. It goes beyond short-term lead capture and focuses on building long-term relationships with potential buyers across the entire buyer's journey. It's a long definition, but I think it's very accurate.
Okay, yeah, no, I think that touches on a lot of points that we will get into today. So would you say this is like the textbook definition, or is this like a recent, like, because I'm assuming it has developed a bit in recent time, or became much more relevant now, right? So is this your summary, less than a textbook definition?
It's my personal description actually. So that's not taken from a textbook. But you're right. There are so many different definitions. So if you ask someone who is only doing Google Ads, he will say demand gen. Of course, I know demand gen. That's one format for a campaign. If you ask someone in the enterprise B2B with some more experience, he will say, no, demand gen is not one format of Google. That's something different.
Yeah.
And you have so many different definitions, but this is probably the definition that resonates very well with the expectation on the market at the moment from leaders.
So it's a long-term strategy. Who is it good for? I'm assuming not B2C if you say it's long-term.
Definitely. It's mostly used in B2B, and there are some B2B products and services where this strategy really has a lot of grip, and this is typically high tickets. So really, if you sell something, let's say 20,000 upwards, even or 50K, even better.
Yeah.
Obviously, you still need a good audience. So if you're just selling to one or two potential buyers, then that's too small. So you still need a good audience for that. It can also, I have also seen demand gen for accounts working that have actually not really high tickets, but more in the field of 500 to 1,000 euros, which is obviously more tricky, but I've seen it properly working already. Longer deal cycles. Obviously, if you sell to enterprise or mid-market, you have a buyers committee and they need some time to decide or compare different vendors. And yeah, these are like the typical long deal cycles, higher ticket, B2B. That's perfect.
Many stakeholders, many people to address. Yeah. Okay, so we've narrowed it more down on the actual demand gen strategy. So we have the definition, but what has changed or what makes it so great in your mind that this is really the next big thing for B2B marketing?
So first of all, I wouldn't say it's the next big thing. It's common for many, many years, and we see that these strategies, they work for a lot of clients. But the difference is when global economy is somewhere in trade wars, and also in a lot of regions, the general economy isn't really strong. Obviously, the management searches for new opportunities. And going up the funnel in marketing is always a great idea because you really generate demand. So looking back at the description, that's the best way to kind of build up a stronger economy by creating demand. So it really resonates with what's currently going on a macroeconomic perspective, and it's the answer to that. So as a company, if you don't have demand, you have to create demand. So just at the moment where you see demand capturing, which is the kind of the main strategy for many B2B companies, so just going lower funnel, with this alone is not really delivering enough revenue and pipeline, then going up the funnel is just the logical result. And this is what we see. So I think that it has a great momentum for many markets, but it can also be if the interest rates get lower in 1 year and the economy is booming all of a sudden, then it can be that the strategy lose grip again. But it looks like they will remain very relevant for some years now.
So it's technically an old strategy that's just become super relevant in the current economic climate.
I would say
and marketing climate.
Technically, probably not, because the techniques for demand gen, they have really evolved a lot. So there are a lot of great software solutions, automations, a lot of AI opportunities in this strategy, but from a psychological perspective, it hasn't really changed. So understanding that there are different, it's actually a bias committee, but you can say there are different stakeholders in the decision, influencing them, understanding where their standpoints are in the decision process, and all these things that are they are not really new, but the way how it can technically be addressed, this evolved a lot. So LinkedIn added great features over the last years for targeting, the account-based tracking. There are great tools like Hockey Stack or Dream Data, or there are some of them where you can really trace back. And that's very valuable, because in the long-term marketing approach, you always want to have some, let's call them soft engagements, where you can actually kind of trace back if you're generating successful engagement.
Okay, so the technology has changed, but from the overall framework, I guess it's not that new, right? Large B2B companies have always kind of had a brand building department, they've had their sales department, they've had their paid media department, and they were just not connected, and the brand building department just threw loads of money out of the window. So you're saying now with demand gen strategy, you can just have a very sharp framework that focuses on the right clients, only spending money on them, producing content for them, getting them in.
That's exactly the point. So when you look at just the different steps, so what many B2B, let's call them enterprise companies, did or still do is they just book a slot at the trade fair where they can have an expert presenting something, and then you have some obviously good prospects, if it's the right trade fair, listening to that. So that from the principle how it works, it's absolutely comparable. You educate to build trust, and afterwards you maybe have an exchange of some business cards, and you follow up on nurturing, and maybe you call them and ask, hey, how's it going? You still using that old software, blah, whatever. So the process is how it psychologically works and how it also makes sense. You're right. It was there for a longer time, but now it's all tailored to the new opportunities that we have with granular targeting, granular engagement reporting, AI automation in many ways, building very granular remarketing audience is also critical for success. So there are a lot of new things that can be used for that.
Okay, so it can be super efficient, but yeah, I'm assuming it requires a lot of coordination between departments and marketing teams to really bring this strategy on the road.
100%. It's really not a low-hanging fruit to just say we're jumping on this train and we'll be successful in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Okay, nice. So if we dive a bit deeper maybe, what are the components of a solid demand gen strategy?
Of course, I also brought a slide for that.
Nice.
Let's look at these components. So we can divide them in 3 different kind of main blocks. So we have in the demand for content in first place. If you go back in time, this was someone visiting a trade fair and then visiting a specific presentation about a topic. So he's interested in learning something. This is what we kind of mirror digitally if we have very good organic postings. We say, okay, we can educate decision makers about a specific topic or the champions, or those who advocate for us later on in the process. Typically there's no clear intent, so no buying intent at this stage. So someone's just interested in getting information about a specific topic. Let's say to make one example, let's say you realize that managing your clients with an Excel is somewhere a little bit messy, because you would like to better collaborate, and also you would like to see the emails that you had in exchange, and maybe the emails that your colleagues had. So that's a very old school example because everyone probably knows the solution for that. But
it's nice. It's understandable. Yeah.
And then you just visit a presentation at a trade fair, which is about efficient client management in an agency. Yeah, that's also probably by HubSpot or someone. Yeah. And then what do? They show you, okay, you still work with Excel. Excel is a great tool. We all know it, but it has some limitations. And they explain you the limitations, and maybe they explain you also, okay, what could be a better way to do that. They introduce you maybe even to the digital SaaS that could work, and probably they have an intro to their own software somewhere. Yeah. So you're slowly entering probably the next phase of demand gen, which is you're developing, at least you. I'm not sure if your whole team is also visiting the presentation, but let's say you would be the champion in this case. You're developing a demand for a solution, and after the presentation, maybe you say, well, I think we need a better way to work with our...
You've been educated what a CRM system is and
exactly
what the benefits are, what it can give to you.
Yeah, maybe you are still not super familiar with the word CRM and with the alternatives, but you already understand, okay, that can really be a valuable solution. So that's a second step, and followed by that, you already have a medium intent because you really understood after the presentation that
you kind of need this.
There is a lot of functionality that improves your daily life. And the third step, and let's just consider you work for a large enterprise. Maybe you speak to your boss about this and you say, well, I was at this presentation and I saw the CRM. You maybe have a conversation on Teams, you send him 1 or 2 links, and then your boss tells you, well, that's a great idea. I did some research on ChatGPT and there are some more opportunities. We could, for example, implement this ourselves. He found a case study by a consulting firm who is specialized on doing this. Where he says, well, there's also Salesforce. and all of a sudden, you and maybe also the purchase department, you kind of brainstorm a little bit what could be possible, and then you say, well, let's just start with a tender, because you decided we're not going with our own development. We think it's better to go the easy standard way, and then you're in the third phase, which is demand for vendor, and obviously this is where you as an advertiser want to be considered, and best case you want to be on top of mind, which means if you had the presentation
at the
HubSpot
fair,
exactly, then you can kind of already influence exactly the features that might be requested
in the tender. Yeah,
exactly. So if HubSpot does this presentation, what will they say? Well, we have the best marketing functionality, we have the best ABM solution, we have the best whatever. They will highlight what they are really good at, and obviously they have good use cases for that. So what will be sticky for you as a participant, it's probably I need a good marketing solution and maybe this, and it's unlikely that you will not be biased by the fact that they have been first on introducing a solution. And in positioning in general, I recently read a really nice book from a very famous Kellogg Business School professor. I think he already died. It was like a 120 years old book. But in positioning, being first is like the key driver for success. So what's the highest mountain in the world?
Mount Everest.
What's the second highest mountain?
K2 or something.
You don't know that. Who was the first one who, I don't know. What's the best cola in the world?
Yeah, Coke.
What's the best burger franchise in the world?
Oh, now I think there's some people getting heated in this discussion.
I think it's McDonald's, but
yeah, probably.
So being first is really crucial, and obviously you can be first if you have a touch point first or many touch points. So going up the funnel is a critical step in positioning. It's not just for generating pipeline, it's also for positioning. It's really important.
I mean, it's super powerful CRM example, I think everyone knows, but if you're in a much more niche market and you've hit the champion that's championing now for your product at the very beginning, you're also immediately in the tender. Like, it's not guaranteed that in the usual process, first the sales department decides, oh, we're going to look on Google and put 10 people in the tender, but you're actually in front of mind straight away.
100%.
And as you said, the number one immediately.
100%. I think Salesforce and HubSpot are really great examples for that, because I would say every client of us considered HubSpot or Salesforce at some point as their option for their CRM. Some even have both of these implemented. I don't know why they have that, but and now if we look at the whole CRM market, there are probably thousands or maybe even 10,000s of different CRMs on the market, and most of them we have never heard of them, and they are not invited to any tenders or anything that is kind of related to a strong position on the market. So yeah, that's obviously the big benefit of going up the funnel, and that's the same also for B2C. So at this point, I think it's really important to say that demand gen in many ways, how it works, it's also comparable to B2C. Buyer's committee you don't have in B2C, so it gets more complex. But hey everyone, do you enjoy today's episode? Hit the subscribe button and support us with your subscription. We really appreciate your support. And now let's go back to the episode.
I think I read a statistic somewhere that 90% of potential buyers tend to not be in the market yet. So that's why it makes sense to go up the funnel and educate them, pull them in. Is that a statistic that's too high in your mind, or do you think that makes sense and that's what makes this so powerful.
I mean, the statistic. I know this statistic is used also by many famous consulting firms,
Yeah.
but honestly, I think it's a little bit blah blah because what's the market? So, if you take the CRM markets for the next 1,000 years, probably 90% are not in the market because we are all dead, and the companies will sooner or later also be. Every start has an end. So, but I think the general message of it is obviously right.
Mm-hmm.
So building up the brand up front. Internally, I always tell the team that they should compare it to the marketing of a toothpaste at this point, just by positioning, not demand gen in general. That's definitely a completely different game. But building up the brand in the upper funnel means that you can really have a very, very good position if you are early.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if you are late, so building up a toothpaste brand now, you're very late for that.
Yeah.
You have to bring a strong differentiator and probably also deep pockets.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so what's next? I guess this is quite a shift now. It's a long-term strategy. How do you convince clients that are used to more of a short-term lead focus to commit to this long-term strategy, and that it's the right move?
I typically don't try to convince clients doing it. So the request for demand gen strategies increased a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. The time frame is a completely different time frame to just going with lead gen, which is just mostly lower funnel or mid funnel, or Google Ads, which is absolutely lower funnel.
Yep.
So you're right. It's difficult to have a good expectation management in the beginning. So my recommendation is always going with the pilot project for depending on the deal cycle. So if the company has 18-month deal cycles, then I would recommend them to have at least 18 months of a pilot project, which is a really long time.
Yep.
If they have 6 to 12 months, I would recommend them 6 to 12 months. That's realistic, and that's also what we see. It resonates with what's possible. On the other hand side, funny side fact, if we look at trade fairs, we see clients that invest 6, 7, sometimes 8 figures in trade fairs, and they got used to being patient, understanding that enterprise clients or mid-market take some time.
That's true,
And this is where I have I often ask managers in this position, hey, why do you benchmark so different? I mean, digitally, if we have a good targeting, we can ensure that your message will be exactly where it should be, which is obviously not even given for a trade fair in most cases.
Yeah.
And the budgets are also in many accounts for the trade fairs, especially in the old economy, they are a lot bigger compared to the margin. So they say, well, we can try the margin with 50K per month. Okay. But on the other hand side, they invest like 10 million in trade fairs.
Yeah.
The outcome is completely difficult to, it's absolutely difficult to trace that. And some companies are very good at measuring trade fairs, but what I know is most of them are not.
Yeah, it's a good point. And I guess there, you're right, their enterprises are more patient. I think in my previous company, they also spent easily 7 figures on trade fairs, and one of the key KPIs were client meetings held.
Which is good, actually. I think it's good.
That was a solid one. What other KPIs would you look at? Made for not just for trade fairs, but for a demand gen strategy? How do you measure it? If it's not just pure lead volume at the end that you're looking at.
Well, at the end, it's pipeline, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
So measuring pipeline, but let's say at the end of a pilot project, there shouldn't actually be an end of a demand gen strategy.
Yeah.
If it's working, obviously, if the pilot failed, then there should be an end. But my recommendation is for the first months to really collaborate closely with the sales department, work on proper target account lists, ensuring that we can trace the engagement from these accounts. Everyone understands the targeting, so 100% transparency is really important.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the targeting is super crucial. If you just have a very weak targeting, then the whole strategy fails at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But from time to time, bringing in the sales and benchmarking, hey, we see the engagement on these accounts. Is this relevant? Are you already in touch with some of them? So that's for the first month always the best idea, because everyone wants to report and see some numbers.
Yeah.
Obviously, spending a lot of money on a channel and then not really tracing what's happening. That's something that I wouldn't recommend.
Mm-hmm.
The management will lose faith if there's no clear reporting on engagement in the first months. For some accounts, it might also be possible to immediately generate pipeline because they just have 5 touch points and then they can generate some leads. But obviously, the more difficult the product is to sell, the more education you need, and the longer it will take to educate potential buyers.
Mm-hmm.
But also measuring pipeline, my recommendation is going self-attributed. So really telling the sales managers, guys, if you are in touch with the company, please ask them, have you seen us on LinkedIn? And dig a little bit deeper.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen us multiple times? And so that there's an understanding of the value.
Yeah.
And
more data.
Yeah, what I hear a lot is that sales managers, they know that a lot of leads, they had multiple touch points digitally, but in all these shiny reports, you can't really trace that back. And obviously, then in the marketing department, as I know most marketing departments, everyone's like, okay, that's the report, that's the result, nothing else happened.
Yeah.
There are some barriers that you might know. We have dark social, which means someone is just chatting with his boss on Teams or whatever. We can't trace that, and a lot of other channels as well. So that it will always be difficult. So my recommendation is never be so foolish and search for a digital solution that gives you the full transparency of what happens.
Mm-hmm.
For lower funnel marketing, this might make sense. I also have a very great slide for that, by the way. Completely forgot that. So if we're going up the funnel, we have typically very poor tracking.
Yeah.
If we go down the funnel, we typically have very good tracking. Why? Because the last touch point is always easier to trace. There are great tools, as already mentioned, Hockey Stack, Dream Data, some more minor software solutions.
So does that mean for a demand gen strategy, people should just forget about attribution because it doesn't really bring much value, or?
Definitely not, no. I think that going with a technical solution and going self-attributed, that's the way. I know some clients who said, well, we go with a technical solution first.
Mm-hmm.
We trace that for 6 months, and then we see, okay, we generate results from that. We don't have to pay for the technical solution if it's an expensive one.
Yeah.
But in most cases, I recommend to go always with a technical solution and with also self-attributed. Self-attributed is in most times, from my personal experience, the most important way of tracing.
Okay. And by self-attributed, you mean answering a quick survey after purchase?
No, I would really recommend asking in a call. So if you have a demo call, surveys are. I would not really recommend surveys. You can use them for B2C or tiny deals when things are automated. But the best that can happen is you have someone in a meeting, and you can really. Sometimes you don't even have the champion in the meeting, which means then it can be more difficult. But just digging very deep into this account and understanding who am I speaking to, where did they come from, was he the initiator, was there someone else? It's not necessarily that this is the first thing that is done in the meeting. Obviously, they can kind of collide with the sales playbook if you say, well, we're using the first 5 minutes to really dig deep into the attribution that we do. But at some point, I recommend doing it like this. That's really valuable.
And maybe one final question that I have on this overall, who in the organization should be in charge of running this strategy? Is it the sales department? Is it the marketing department? Is it because there's so many stakeholders, right? The CFO wants to see where his money is being spent over a whole year, and
my recommendation is clearly to have an expert at the moment. I think that there are a lot of CMOs that have a great understanding of modern demand gen. For those, it can be sweet to have a sparring partner who, like an agency, who's actually ramping up everything. That really makes sense. Doing it internally without the resources is probably a bad idea. That will very likely result in nothing. And this is also something that I see a lot, ramping up some 5 creatives on LinkedIn, running them for 6 months and then pausing everything because there was no way of understanding how it can be tracked correctly, attributed correctly. So I would recommend, if there is no real confidence in the strategy, it should always be either developed with training or externally hired with an agency. I think these are the options.
Yeah, because if you really follow all of the different components, there's a lot of work to be done, right? A lot of content to be created, a lot of different channels to be served, a lot of
100%.
a lot of coordination. I think maybe this is a weird example, but it feels a bit like in warfare, the Russian approach of big numbers versus the NATO modern warfare of having interconnected tanks, planes, people on the ground, super tactical.
Hopefully our videos will not get banned because you said this, but I think that's a proper,
more efficient approach.
Comparison.
That's what I wanted to say. Okay, nice. I think we're gonna make this a multi-part series, right?
We'll probably talk about demand gen some more times. Yeah, I think so too.
Maybe next time we can, really dive in how to set up a demand gen strategy. I think that would be really, really valuable.
Sounds great. Yeah, I can only recommend everyone in the B2B enterprise or mid-market to get used to that.
Yeah. Okay, nice. Thanks for the explanations and the coaching.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.